Well, happy Sunday night, everybody. The mothership has connected. Welcome aboard. So glad you're with us. Boy, tonight's a special night. We've got Brandon Epstein joining us tonight here on the show. He's an author and a mental health coach for professional athletes. He's got a new book out. So we'll talk to Brandon coming up here in about 10 minutes from now. Also, the latest on our trip to Oakland. Come on, come one, come all. Friday is the reverse boycott. I've never been to an Oakland A's game. I've never been to the Coliseum for a Raider game. I'm so thrilled to be part of this. We are partying at Line 51 all day long, then going to the tailgate and doing a big fan fest tailgate, and then going into the ballpark on Friday night for A's and J's, which, by the way, is the 35th anniversary of the 1989 ALCS, a year in which the A's won the World Series. So A's, J's, 35th anniversary. I love it all. More details on that as we make our way through the night. Damon Bruce is going to join us, iconic Bay Area talker. He's going to join me on Friday from Line 51 to help me through this entire crazy thing. He's been amazing as a support system throughout. He's going to co-host the show with me, so I can't wait. Damon's going to join us later on in the show as well. It's a Golden Grams kind of night. It's an exhale cocktail kind of night. The only reason I don't have one in front of me is because I enjoyed my exhale cocktails earlier in the day at the bar mitzvah for Mike Babchick's oldest son, my cohort in the mornings on SiriusXM. Joey Babs turned 13 2 weeks ago, and tonight was his bar mitzvah. So I went there, had my 2 Amstel Lights, and even did a shot with the dad, Mike Babchick, to celebrate his son, his oldest, turning 13, which is very cool. So I'm just going to do water for now, but that doesn't stop you from enjoying yourself tonight. Plus Q&DA coming up a little bit later on. So if you've got questions, they could be sports, they could be life, they could be anything. Send them to us. Aidan is collecting and curating the best. We'll also give away a ton of shirts tonight via our sponsorship and partnership with the Last Dive Bar, which is just awesome because Friday it all comes into bloom as part of the reverse boycott. Let's get things started with your Furious Five, which is an ode to the greatest or one of the great old school hip hop groups of all time. Look them up, Furious Five. They were awesome back in the day when hip hop began back in the early 80s. And we begin with the NBA and this ridiculous layoff. I mean, talk about losing momentum. I know that all of these leagues domestically run on the hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars in television money and media rights fees. So I'm not naive. I'm not stupid. I'm no noob. We all get it that contract with TNT and that contract with ESPN floats the boat of the NBA's salary wage scale and massive expenditures and travel and all of that. Okay, we understand. And we understand that you want to maximize your television ratings for popularity purposes, for eyeballs, biggest audience to come see your product. We get it. But does this not seem ridiculous that the Boston Celtics have 10 days off before the NBA Finals, and that the Mavericks will have a full week off before the NBA Finals? We had this all wrapped up this past week, and we're now waiting until Thursday night for game number 1. As you see, they've maximized their nights. You got Thursday into a Sunday. They know they're going to get a good number on a Sunday. They spread it out Wednesday, then they get a Friday night. And then perhaps following that, Monday, Thursday, and then a game 7 would be on a Sunday again, where they can maximize a weekend Sunday night audience. But I just think that there's a short line of thinking here where I believe these leagues should look at the finals, Stanley Cup final, NBA Finals, World Series, and say, let's have 3 models. Let's work with our television partners for 3 different models. At the very least, 2 models that if we play out even one of the 2 series, of course, we're going to wait for the longest one to finish up, go 6 or 7, there's model number 1. And if neither one goes 4 or neither one goes 5 or 6, we have a different model. And if they're both sweeps, we have a third model. Because I just don't believe this is the best thing for a product, for us to be waiting around, checking our watches, tapping our toes, wondering when the NBA Finals will start. It's beneficial from a rest standpoint. Certainly beneficial to make sure the Celtics and Mavs are at full strength. At the same time, you're trying to maximize audience. And you're going to tell me that tonight, Sunday, we've got to wait tonight, Monday night, Tuesday night, Wednesday night, all day Thursday, just to get to game 1? I don't think that's best. I think you've got to be flexible. I know you want to maximize television audience. You have to have multiple models. And these leagues get too fixated and too rigid based on television, and it can suck the life out of a situation like this year. Next up, Stanley Cup Final. Got at least one team put in there as of tonight. Florida Panthers move on, beating the Rangers last night in game number 6. We've got a game 6 tonight from Edmonton where the Oilers lead 3-2. Sex Panther. What is it? It works 95% of the time, all the time, something like that. The Panthers ultimately were the best team in the Eastern Conference and once again go back to the Stanley Cup Final back-to-back years. And the way that they played in Game 6 was so frustrating for the Rangers. But this is how an old-school hockey team used to be built. The modern NHL team is built more on agility, speed, puck movement. The old guys, the old teams used to be physicality, slow it down, suffocate the space, neutralize you, and get good goaltending. Well, Bobrovsky's been excellent, and the Panthers just have that physicality that totally strangled the Rangers. The power play was a disaster for the Rangers. Their stars were frustrated, and the Panthers just seem to be that old school, grinded out type of team. They're going to be brutal to go up against, whether it's the Oilers or the Stars or the Stanley Cup Final, but it is a throwback. And I think it's really cool because what it's been almost 30 years, 28 years since the year of the rat, 96, when the Panthers went to their first Stanley Cup Final. They used to throw the rats down on the ice, the John Van Beesbrook, Scott Mellenby years, the old Miami Arena. I think this Panthers team is built like an old school team. You got to appreciate that. And for a Sun Belt city and a fair weather Sun Belt city for a lot of their sports, I know I worked there. And forget it if I ever tried to talk Panthers hockey on QAM. Are you kidding me? But I think it's cool. I think it's very cool. I think that fan base has been rabid for the last couple of years. Hey, we're finally good again. We used to be a joke. There was flies inside the arena, and now there's a reason to come inside and watch good hockey. So that's a damn good team. Built well, played well, brought the thunder. They're old school. They're going to be tough to beat in the Stanley Cup Final. All right, time now for our first guest. He is the author of a brand new book called Programmed to Fail. Interesting, right? This is an interesting book because he has worked with many professional athletes in the past as their mental coach. Everybody, let's welcome on Brandon Epstein, everybody. I'm so excited about our first guest tonight. Let's get to our first guest.
Wow, you did your research.
Bro, you did your research. I like it. It's stuff I haven't talked about a lot lately.
Generally turn these things down. You're a pro and you do your homework, so I'm applauding you. Thank you very much.
You're too kind, man. Time now for our next guest. I'm so excited to welcome on. Type around the Q instead of the A's. Brandon, what's up, buddy? How you doing?
What's up, big dog? Great to join you this evening. What else would I want to be doing my Sunday evening than getting to know you right here, right now, bro? It's good to be here.
Sarcastic.
No. I couldn't be happy to be here, bro. I'm pumped. I'm pumped to see where this goes.
You're based in South Florida, right?
I am, yeah. Okay. I haven't gotten the Panthers train yet because I'm actually from New York originally, so I'm more of a Knicks, a Jets, fan. So I still follow those teams, but I am down in South Florida now.
Is that why you had to get into the mental coaching side of things? Because you've been beaten down by years of torture by the Knicks and the Jets?
Dude, I had to find a way to be successful in some aspects of my life after living through that, dude. It's been tough. It's been tough.
What was the most painful moment of your childhood watching those teams and some specific failure or loss or a player that left or got injured? What was the most painful moment as a sports fan growing up?
I mean, we never really had that many good teams. So there wasn't that many opportunities to have our hearts broken, right? I mean, like the highlight was probably for me, 99. I was 9 years old and we made it to the championship with the Knicks. But I think we all kind of knew that we were going to lose to Spurs. Like it was, everyone knew we were outmatched in that. So it wasn't like a huge letdown, right? We didn't have a dominant team. The team really had no business to make it to the championship. And then the Jets are the Jets, right? I mean, we have so many, from the Mark Sanchez's to you name it. It's been a mess. You know, when I was younger, before I started getting more into the mental stuff, there was a lot of broken remotes and rants. Yeah.
Well, you're one of us. You're one of us. A lot of broken remotes and stomping your feet as you slam a door and walk out. Oh my God, they did it to me again. So tell us this journey of growing up loving sports, but then shifting your way into being a mental coach for athletes and trying to unlock those types of mysteries.
Yeah. So I was an athlete growing up. I wasn't an amazing athlete, but I was a good enough athlete to play football in college. And my freshman year, going in there, I just expected I would start, and I didn't. I was riding the bench, and I was like, this isn't fun. Like, who wants to be on a sports team and not get to play? You just do all the hard stuff. You go to practices, and then you don't get to do the fun stuff, which is the game. So after a full year, basically riding the bench in the offseason, I was looking for solutions. I was trying to find ways to get on the field. And I was already dialed in the physical parts of the game and more the mental, like watch film, those parts of the game. So I was looking for something outside the box. And that led me to starting to understand and learn about the mind and meditation and working with energy and understanding how to get into a flow state and how to improve my performance and actually show up as the best version of myself consistently on the field. And through that experience, I had a lot of success in my second year playing. And I really discovered in that moment, like, football's not the life calling. Like, it is the mental aspect of football, which is a life calling. And so that was 19 years old. And I've just been sold ever since. I was like, this is what I want to do with my life. And it's been a long journey to get into professional sports because I definitely didn't take a traditional route. I took a very untraditional path to get to where I am, to work with the people I'm working with in present day. But I always knew this was it for me.
You're speaking to a receptive audience here because a lot of my message has always been stay positive. Things get tough. Life is tough. You don't have to ignore that. But you got to try to labor through it. You got to try to endure. And there's good things. There's positive people. There's a lot to love. And we use sports as the platform to do so. But, man, everybody gets into funks. Everybody gets into tough spots. Everybody has a hurdle that they hit in life, a dark spot they hit in life. And hopefully what we do is we provide some support for those people until they get through the back end of it. You talk about a flow state. That's something that we hear a lot of, but I don't think a lot of people know exactly what it is. So define to us what a flow state is.
Yeah, being in flow is when time and space seems to disappear and you're no longer in your head and the mental aspect of living, and you're in the being. So you're just in the moment as it unfolds. And, we hear a lot of people talking about you should be present. Most people spend almost none of their life in the present. They're constantly future pacing into where do I want to go next? When I achieve this, when I get there, I'll be able to relax or be able to be happy. Or they're thinking about the past and, well, if this only would have happened in this way. So first of all, if you want to get into flow, you have to actually be in the present moment. And flow is not something you can force or control. It's something that just happens. And it happens when you, have a significant amount of skill already built up at a certain craft. So, we're talking about sports. I work with a lot of athletes. Like, you're not going to play a sport for the first time to get into flow state. It's something that you've already put in a lot of hours to build the skill. And then when you're able to be present while you're performing this skill, you're able to drop into this flow state, which is essentially this feeling. It's an heightened state of consciousness where time and space really do feel like they disappear. And the only thing that exists is that present moment. And whatever sport or activity you're participating in, you're just in it. You're almost a part of it without any thought, without any thinking. And really, I work with a lot of fighters. Like, they have to be in flow state whenever they're fighting, because you don't have time to think to yourself, let me slip this punch and then counter. No, that has to be built into you. You have to be so deep into the present in this flow that it's happening automatically. And of course, the only way for that to happen is to have significant skill. So to answer your question, flow state is getting into the present moment, having enough skill so you're able to actually just surrender to the experience and then just play, just be with whatever you're doing.
We think of these athletes almost as invincible. They're huge, they're strong, they've been successful for a million, years in our mind. They've always been one of the top athletes, if not the top athlete in their high school class, their college class. They get drafted, they're then stars. And yet you're dealing with people as athletes that have the same vulnerabilities mentally that we do. So what are some of the things you see from athletes mentally that are some of their biggest hurdles?
Yeah. And it's the same, right? That's why I can work with anyone. People are like, what's it like to work with all these big name athletes? It's the same as working with any other person who trying to be great.
And give us some of those big name athletes so we can kind of give the context to our listeners of who you've worked with.
Sure. Some of the people I've worked with, Chris Weidman, former UFC champion. I've worked with Shane Bieber, former Cy Young Award winner. A lot of my clients don't like to be named because there's still a little bit of stigma around this stuff. But yeah, I'm working with a lot of guys in the NFL, MLB, and as they get to a place where they're okay with me talking about, I'll name drop some more, but those are a few of the guys.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so what are some of those hurdles that they deal with that the regular person deals with as well?
Yeah. And so I'll just say universally, the athletes I deal with, it's very consistent. And you can imagine this because I think a lot of people in the social media age deal with this. It's the fear of other people's opinion, other people's judging them, other people having thoughts about them they're trying to control. And so I work with a lot of baseball players, right? It's like when they're going out to go pitch, them thinking to themselves, okay, well, there's someone watching me, analyzing me, trying to determine whether they want to keep me in the rotation or not. And they're asking themselves, oh, does this guy have his good stuff today, right? There's management who are looking at this guy and going, well, is this guy do we see a future in him? And just picking apart everything they do. And so as long as their mind is going into that, or the fan base, right? What are the fans thinking of me? Oh, my last outing didn't go well. Are they going to be, booing me when I come out for this start?
So they do listen to the fans. They do ingest what the fans are saying, even when they say, I don't listen to that type of stuff.
Some of them do. I wouldn't say everyone does, but I think to some degree, they're, for the most part, if they're coming to me, it's because their mind is not in the present moment. And that means it's being distracted elsewhere, right? And so it could be the management, it could be coaches, it could be the fans, it could be the media. A lot of them do listen to this. And when they're starting to try and put their energy into controlling these other people's opinions, that means their energy is not going into their present moment performance. And that's where it starts to struggle. So really how we solve that for them is take them through an ego death, if you will, and a full acceptance of, whatever they say I am, fine. Because so many people, they try to fight against the stigma or fight against what the media or the fan bases say about them. What I have my guys do is I'm like dying it. Yeah, full ego death. Right now, you're going to go through the process of whatever they say I am. And it sounds paradoxical, but when they sit into that acceptance for long enough, they release it and they don't care anymore. And they can just move on with their life, because what you resist persists. Whenever you try to fight against something, that's what actually builds attention and gets you in your head. When you accept it, it can actually change. You can release it. You can move on with your life. And so that's a big thing for them. Is like, I don't have them try to rewrite a story about what other people think about them. I'm like, fine. If they think about it, if they think that about you, then they do. If they think it's true for them.
That's fascinating, because exactly, paradoxically, you would think is the exact opposite. Don't listen to what other people say. Yeah. It doesn't affect you. Don't let other people define you. I want to specifically speak about social media, because I struggle with this. For my job, being on Twitter, being on Instagram is an extension of what I do. Connecting with listeners, connecting with fans, promoting this project, promoting my SiriusXM show, etc. This is what we're doing. This is how we're doing it. Check out what we did. This is my opinion on this. And yet, social media for a lot of people can be very toxic. And of course, there's negativity that comes my way as well. And I go, is this good for me? Is it ultimately a win, or am I ingesting all this negativity, whether it's directed at me or the negativity that just exists out there, people fighting, opinions, polarization, politicization? Is that good? And I want to know, what's the healthiest way for all of us to digest social media? Is it just cutting cold turkey, or can we use it and use it in a healthy way?
I guess we'll see. I think it comes down to the individual. Right. I think I never give anyone advice. That's the funny thing about my coaching is people think I sit around giving advice to everyone. I don't. I create a space where people come to the clarity that they need within themselves. So I don't give universal advice as in, hey, social media is good or it's bad. It's a tool. It's a tool that can be used for your benefit or it could work against you. I'll tell you, most athletes I work with, they actually don't spend much time on social media. I think that there's a number of them who are very active, are constantly tweeting, constantly posting stuff that we think about them. But a lot of pro athletes, they're not. They're very inactive on social media. And I think the reason why they do that specifically is because they want to have a clear mind. Because if you're a Major League Baseball player, like the contracts are so big these days, like you could be making ridiculous money, tens of millions of dollars, hundreds of millions of dollars. So what do you really get from social media, right? You're going to get a brand deal. You're going to get a $10,000 deal, a $50,000 deal versus if you just shut it off altogether and you go perform and you just are in your tunnel vision the entire season, you could go make $5 million. You don't need to worry about social media. So it really comes down to the individual. For me personally, I'm still putting my reputation, trying to get my reputation and my word out there. I'm trying to get the book out there. So for me, there's no place where I'm going to get $50 million for talking about this stuff, right? I need social media as a platform to serve me. A lot of these athletes, they don't. So I think it comes down to the individual and saying, hey, this is a tool. Can I use it for me or is it working against me? If I didn't need social media for the work I'm doing, I probably wouldn't spend much time on there. But it's a very useful tool, especially for communicating with some of the athletes that I work with and prospecting. It's a tool it's useful for me. And so I think each individual needs to be a grown-up and make that decision for themselves.
Before I let you go, I want to touch on one of the chapters in your book that I think can touch a lot of our listeners and everybody kind of out there. And that's uncovering your hidden programming, that there is something deep within you programmed or can be programmed that you're digging into and trying to search for. This can go for everybody. So tell our audience kind of what you mean by that and what the core of that chapter is about.
Yeah. We've all been pre-programmed and we live in a programmed society. The only thing that makes anything real that we look around and anything only has meaning because we've been programmed to give it meaning, right? And so this is like the Neo moment for everyone right now. You have to understand that whatever you believe to be true is true for you. It may not be true for another person, right? That's why two people can look at the same president on the TV, have the same information, differing beliefs. They have completely different emotional experiences. One person goes, oh, I hate this person's worst. He's our savior. Same information, same person, different beliefs. And beliefs I use synonymously with programming. And so this is like human development 101. This is what every kid needs to do in elementary school, middle school, high school, and then for the rest of their life. And most people never do, which is actually uncover the fact that you have been programmed. And so you've been programmed by the people who came before you, generations past. You've been programmed by your family. You've been programmed by your society, by your community, by the people you grew up around. And you have to ask yourself at some point, like, if you're constantly suffering in less than optimal emotional states of being, if you don't feel good, why is that? Because you create your own suffering. No one creates it for you. Nobody makes you feel bad. You make yourself feel bad through your own programming that you're running. And so this is the awakening path, right? Like the Buddha, the awakened one, that's what Buddha means. It means that you just realize that, oh, okay, I create everything in my own reality. I create my own emotional experience, and it's a byproduct of this programming. And so ask yourself, what do you believe to be true? And go through it. It's a process, right? That the book is really a playbook for anyone to go through that process of understanding what their beliefs are and then deciding whether they want to keep those, or if some maybe are working against them, then get rid of them. And that's the core of the work that I do with professional athletes. It's just going into their subconscious and having them identify, hey, dude, why are you suffering right now? Right? So when I talk about those guys who are struggling with, like I had this NFL guy, he got this massive contract, first round pick, and he was ready to quit playing in his second season because he was just so overwhelmed by the judgment from the fan base and management, and he was self-sabotaging. I'm like, dude, what are you doing? And we get to it, and he's deeply anxious. We go through the anxiety. We find out he believes that the more successful he is, the more judgment he's going to receive. Right? And so he actually blocks himself from being more successful. He's actually not doing the things he needs to do to show up and be his best on the field. He's not watching film. He's not committed like he needs to be, because for him, subconsciously, there's more suffering on the other side of being more successful than there is from staying where he is, because there's going to be more judgment. So we back ourselves into all these corners as human beings of developing these beliefs that work against us. For him, it was like, dude, you have this massive career ahead of you. Like, this is a game you love. This is a game you wanted to play for the rest of your life. You're ready to quit right now. And it's because that one piece of broken programming that was making him feel like this is my only option. So all of us have these in our life. And all you have to do is go through a baseline of the different areas of your life. Which areas are you struggling in? I guarantee you're programmed to fail in those areas that you're struggling in.
This conversation with Brandon, we are going to pull out of the show and post on YouTube. So if you have friends, family, yourself, and maybe you're going through some stuff, maybe you feel insecure, maybe you feel doubt, maybe you feel the walls closing in, or have friends or family that are doing so, you want to pass this along, we will lift this clip, we'll lift this whole conversation, put it on YouTube so that you can share it easily to those that might need it. The book is Programmed to Fail. Brandon's done some really cool work with sports athletes and people just in general, getting them into a good mind state. And I know that's a really valuable commodity out there these days. So Brandon, I appreciate you finding time for us. I know you were saying we'll see how this goes. Hopefully it went well enough, and hopefully you can visit us again. Enjoy the Stanley Cup playoff run with the Florida Panthers. If you get in with them, you get to spend a day with the cup with one of those guys, and it's worth it. You can jump into a pool and pour a bunch of beer in it.
Let's go. I'm into it, bro. I'm into it.
Man.
Appreciate you.
Thanks for joining us. Yeah, you got it. Brandon's book is Programmed to Fail, available now. Good stuff. All right, let's get back into the Furious Five with number three here. Number three. And how about this Birmingham Southern story? Are you guys checking this thing out? We've talked about it on the air with my SiriusXM show in the mornings, but Birmingham Southern is a school that is discontinued. It has gone away. As of Friday, the school no longer existed. And over the weekend, it has just become one of the craziest stories in sports in recent memory. It's one of those things where you go, well, Disney will definitely make this a movie because this is happening and it's ridiculous. They're a D3 school. Because of funding problems, funding deficit, they closed the school down. They shuttered the school. But because the spring sports season continues beyond the semester, Birmingham Southern is in the D3 World Series, okay? And I think they trailed 2 games ago 7-0, came all the way back to win. Then yesterday they led, I think, 4-0 before they had to mount a comeback in the 8th inning, a 3-run deficit, and then had a walk-off victory, I believe, in the 9th inning or extras. Just an insane type of story if you're following this. And it doesn't make any sense because with the game-winning hit the other night, the batter takes a terrible swing at the pitch, steps out of the batter's box, and apologizes to his coach. He's like, dude, I'm sorry. That's on me. Terrible. I'm not, just like Brandon's talking about, mentally not all there. Steps back into the box and strokes the game winner. It's like, no way. No way. But Birmingham Southern has been one of the coolest stories ever. I say cool, even though there's an entire alumni base that won't have their school anymore around. And this team is just a bunch of nomads right now. They have to find a new school, a new program if they get eligibility left after the season. But you got to find highlights of this. You got to check this out on social media. SportsCenter ran a story on it last night. Birmingham Southern, the Panthers, I believe, right? So you got the Florida Panthers, Birmingham Southern Panthers. Unfreaking believable. Truly unbelievable. D3 World Series, and they're still on a tear. How could it happen? Next up, the Caitlin Clark stuff. I tend to believe that, and I'm in the middle of this, that as a sports culture, we kind of have to overdo the analysis of things. And it's based on this modern ecosystem of gaining attention. The most polarizing opinions get the most attention. Clicks, retweets, views are your currency now. And so you have to go all in one way or the other. And so either Caitlin Clark needs to get roughed up, and obviously all the WNBA players are petty, and obviously there's resentment for her success, and obviously she's being treated unfairly, or non-story, you're making it up, Caitlin Clark is fine, everything is fine, this is a media and fan-generated controversy. And it struck me the other night when she was shoved to the ground by an opponent that actually the truth, as always, is in between here. That there is a rigidity, some type of resistance to Caitlin Clark. And that is fine. That's actually okay. Because rookies that are drafted number 1 overall, rookies that get a big contract, rookies that come into the league and throw on shades and wear fancy jewelry or drive a nice car or do a bunch of pressers or have a big social media following, oftentimes get roughed up by veterans that are like, not on my turf. That part of it is fine. If you just want to show the rook what it's like, totally get it, right? I mean, it's kind of sports. They're competitive. I think that's fine. The idea that that's not happening is silly. And I think that that's where Becky Hammon lost me. When she's like, stop making it out like people don't like Caitlin Clark. Stop making it out like the WNBA is resistant to this. Because clearly there are players, Angel Reese, one of them, that have an animosity towards the success, the fame of Caitlin Clark. And I think that's kind of natural. And I don't know if it's because women are supposed to be more polite or more elevated or more something, or that if they're not, they could be positioned as catty or petty. But my vibe is this. Caitlin's overall popularity is going to help everybody in that league. Rising tide lifts all boats. So the best thing that you can do as an opponent is recognize I'm in a better spot because she's in this league. It does not mean you have to give her free lanes to the basket. It doesn't mean you have to not play as hard as possible. It doesn't mean you don't want to send her a message as well. That's part of being a competitor and being part of a league that, is trying to get as good as it can be, as competitive as it can be. So I think there's something in the middle that doesn't have to be personal. That seems like it's a weird part of the Caitlin Clark conversation. But there's clearly resistance to a famous rookie coming in and people before her saying, why does she get all the accolades? And there should be a recognition by some of those people, if not all those people, hey, and she's helping your bottom line. But there also should be a recognition that if there's a hard foul, if there's some resentment, if there's some putting up, some, hey, I'm here too, that's also part of sports. And I do think these things can coexist and that ultimately down the line, it will seem kind of silly that it became a mushroom cloud of controversy in some weird way. There are Clark Sharks out there. Different than Clark Bars. Clark Sharks. And finally, numero cinco. How about Daryl Strawberry being honored yesterday by the New York Mets? For a little personal background, Daryl Strawberry was my favorite player growing up. I was a Mets fan growing up, still am, tortured, pained Mets fan. But, my parents were Brooklyn Dodgers fans from back in the day growing up in Brooklyn. My grandma was a Brooklyn Dodgers fan. So when I was growing up and I went over to my grandma's house, she always had Mets games on, the little old TV. And that was our team. And we could never be Yankees fans because the Yankees were the enemy. And so naturally, I was a Mets fan. And Straw was this larger-than-life, high-kick, home run swatting guy that just seemed to be a superhero. And I just loved how he looked. He was long and muscular, and the high leg kick and those pinstripes looked so great. The old school Mets 80s jersey with the racing stripes. He looked so good. And his name was Strawberry. When you're 9 years old and your favorite player's name is Strawberry and they're growing strawberries out in right field at Shea Stadium, you're like, this the most amazing thing ever. And when he left for the Dodgers in the winter of 1991, I was crushed. I mean, I remember specifically walking through sixth grade and being like, Straw's leaving for the Dodgers? Crushing. I had a poster of Straw in my room, and back of my Little League baseball card, favorite player, Daryl Strawberry. So yesterday, for him to be honored by the Mets, number 18 retired, and him to say, I never should have left. I should have never left. It was the worst decision he could make. He wanted to stick it to Mets management. He felt unloved. The Mets didn't trust him. They knew his nightlife. They didn't want to give him a huge contract. And he said, I'm going back home to LA, and I'm gonna be the man there and take all the cash. And what happened? Daryl Strawberry got even worse into the bad things of his life, addiction, going back home to LA, being around his dudes, being around his boys, being around the old people, and his career completely shattered after he left for the Dodgers. And it was never the same. And who knows? I mean, if he stayed with the Mets, is he a surefire Hall of Famer? Probably not. He probably falls to some of the same things that he fell to in LA, but it certainly was worse. Certainly was way worse. And I just thought yesterday was a really cool kind of like circle of life where things begin, things end, and Straw is now in a much better spot. He's sober. He's spiritual, and his wife really saved him from a lot of dark times. And, it's kind of in some ways amazing that both Doc and Daryl are still with us, because it certainly didn't look like that. If you would have asked that question in 1995, if they were going to be around in 2024, the answer would have been absolutely not. Neither one of them will. And they're both here. And Daryl's doing better than Doc, but really cool yesterday. I thought that was awesome by the Mets. And in a season where it's been putrid, that was a rare bright spot. Friday, I'm telling you, I'm so jazzed up about this. It's silly, because I have been talking about the A's and that relocation for a long time. And people wonder, how does a New York guy, a Mets fan, fall into the A's situation? And as kind of context, I've been a born skeptic about ownership in sports. The fact that Art Modell could move the Browns, the fact that you could have these cities pitting against one another, the stadiums, relocation, and commissioners kind of going along with it, the fact that leagues constantly beat the drum of best for the league, best for the fan, we're all in it for the fan, and then they do this type of stuff, has always bothered me. So the first stories of the relocation, I always thought were stupid. I thought it was a lark. It was ridiculous. And then as I pulled it apart, I'm like, this is a scam. The fact that they're selling in Oakland, that there's no interest and no fans as the reason they have to leave, is utterly insane. If you really looked at the metrics of it, the logistics of it, stadium's decrepit. John Fisher's owned the team for 20 some odd years, has never invested a dime into the stadium or the team. They've let every good player leave, and they're saying, well, nobody cares. Well, what are you talking about? They care, but you're terrible. You're pushing them away. So I started talking about this on my show when I was on CBS. the clips land on social media and A's fans start going, oh, yeah. That's right. That's somebody in the national media that's actually paying attention. And I just kind of fell into this wave of A's fans that reached out to me and said, thank you. Thank you for saying and vocalizing the things that we know, but nobody else realizes outside of the Bay Area. Fast forward 3 years later, Last Dive Bar is a sponsor here on Watch DA Live. And the reverse boycott is coming up on Friday, and I knew I had to be there. So one of the guys that is helping me connect all the dots here to go out there and do this show on Friday for you and bring you this, and I'm so excited to do that. And then the tailgate and then the game itself is my man, Damon Bruce, iconic Bay Area talk show legend. Let's hear it for Damon Bruce, everybody. All right, so Damon Bruce has been at this thing longer than I have, and he is a Bay Area man through and through. Even though he didn't grow up there, he is known by the masses, and he is going to be my connector to all of this. And so I appreciate his help and his support very much. And he hosts Damon Bruce Plus on YouTube. Go there, subscribe to the channel because he does amazing work there. Damon, how are you, buddy?
I want you to think of me as your sommelier or your concierge. And we are so happy, Damon, that you are going to be checking into the Hotel Oakland this Friday it's going to be an awesome event. I'm going to tell you, my wife and I did a little reconnaissance. A couple weeks ago, we went to Line 51, which is the old bus route that ran through that neighborhood.
Awesome. And
they've got a bus in their brewery, like an actual bus, and they have turned that into where they serve kegs and taps, and it's going to be a great time. Hello. It's good to see you, man. It really is. You know how much I've always been a fan of yours, and it's got nothing to do with us having the rare first name. The Caucasian Damon is the rarest Damon there is. So it's always, you know, I've always known about you, and then the fact that this topic has really now brought us together professionally, I think it's perfect, and it illuminates how good and smart of a broadcaster you really are, because this is literally, I think, one of the juiciest stories in sports that has been mishandled, uncovered, and you smelled the rat, and you're coming out here to cover the rat. I knew you got a sponsor, so I even got a little Last Dive Bar swag going on for you here.
Look at that.
And what you are going to be greeted with, Damon, is a level of appreciation and thanks from these fans who have been screaming into the void for over a decade now. So thanks for amplifying this issue. No doubt about it, man.
Well, I appreciate you saying that, and I'm so excited to meet everybody. We're going to have tons of giveaways at Line 51 Brewing Company. We're going to do the live show there as well. So next week, Damon and I will be hosting 2-hour show. Keep it locked right here to this YouTube channel, Damon's YouTube channel. We're going to simulcast this bad boy. If you can come down, of course, come down and enjoy. We'll be doing a ton of giveaways and raffle prizes, etc. I do feel validated, not because fans are thanking me, but because I see people in the baseball media, the narrative turning. When Ken Rosenthal and Jeff Passan, two of the most insiders in baseball, say they smell a rat and they don't trust this and they don't know why this is happening, doesn't that make you feel like even if you can't stop the move, at least the narrative is changing slowly but surely?
It's incredible it took this long to change, because it doesn't make sense coming or going. It doesn't make sense in terms of the path out of Oakland, and it makes even less sense as an entry point into Las Vegas, which we all know is now incredibly valuable, fertile sports soil. And for them to cede this soil to a false prophet billionaire who has delivered on zero promises over the course of 25 years, Major League Baseball, what are you doing? Just from a business acumen standpoint, I can't believe that they would flip the keys to the Lamborghini that is the Las Vegas market to some guy who doesn't even know how to drive. It's amazing. Watch this entire thing die on the vine up in Sacramento. Vivek Ranadive, the owner of the Sacramento Kings, who helped clear the way for the single most ridiculous relocation detour you'll ever see in your life. The A's going to Raleigh Field, which is the AAA field. And it's a gorgeous AAA field. It is very much a more beautiful ballpark than the Coliseum has become. But you watch Vivek Ranadive, who initially extends his hand as help to John Fisher. He's going to use his other hand, I think, to subvert this team from John Fisher. I bet they never even get to Las Vegas. I bet you they either stay docked in the port of Sacramento, or somehow, some way, they're back in Oakland because Fisher finally throws his hands up and does sell or do something. All it takes is money to own a team. There's a lot of guys with money. Why hasn't Major League Baseball taken such a horrific personality in its ownership group and done away with it? And don't tell me that they always circle the wagons. We have a long history of bad owners being run out of sports by their own. And why it's not happening this time around, Damon, I can't figure it out. I don't know. I don't know why it's not happening. We have incompetence documented at every single turn of every negotiation. I mean, it's not my strong personal opinion that John Fisher isn't good at this. It is the documented, provable in court fact that he's awful at all of this. So it's amazing that, if you can get rid of Daniel Snyder, if you can get rid of the guy who owned the Clippers,
Donald Sterling.
Thank you, Donald Sterling. If you can get rid of bad owners when the public turns against them, when their own ownership groups turns, I don't know how this guy hangs around. He must have pictures. I don't know. I don't get it.
Talk to us about the emotional state of A's fans right now. Where are they? What am I walking into? Where emotionally, where do they stand?
You have an abusive relationship between a fan base and a team. The fans that will be with us on Friday, the fans, I think, are just going to use this opportunity to get together and give each other what feels like it might be one last hug. I mean, they're crestfallen this has happened. This is generational robbery, Damon. You're taking memories away from the generations of the past. You're denying memories being made of generation of future A's fans. And believe me, there are more A's fans than you can see in any documented nightly attendance. There really are. Now, it was a systematic, intentional sabotaging of this entire franchise's popularity that has driven the fan base to this battered, emotional, cowering, just we can't take any more entity in the corner of the room. And it's sad what has happened. It's so sad what has happened to these fans, and the way that you would, I'm never trying to, compare sports to a level of domestic violence, but the way you cannot convince someone to leave their abuser, it feels like the diehard fans that are hanging on here just can't. There's never been more of a case to just walk away from a team once and for all, and there's still a diehard emotion and connection that these fans have with this team that prevents them from doing it. And it's noble, and it's sad, and it's rough watching. It's been rough out here covering this story because it matters to people. You will talk to someone at line 51, and they're going to come up to you really excited to meet you, and they're going to start talking about the first time their grandfather, their uncle, their dad brought them to an A's game, and they're going to start to well up because they know that that's not a gift that they can now give to their children. There is an awful lot of raw emotion attached to this, and it's the whole thing is just so sad. It's so sad. It was so preventable. And John Fisher intentionally let his franchise die on the vine so he could make the case, just like in the movie Major League, that he had to relocate. He did everything possible to make that the environment this team now exists in.
Yeah, it's the slow death part of this. That's the worst part, is that this wasn't a Band-Aid ripped off. It wasn't you wake up and the Baltimore Colts are moving out of Baltimore in a Mayflower van. It is this long, identifiable con that has happened for years, if not decades now. And I've described it as orchestrated apathy. They wanted to engineer apathy so that they could say, see, we have to move. But my guess is that the people that will show up on Friday and support, Line 51, Last Dive Bar, the reverse boycott, the 68s and all of that, there must be a flickering hope that not all is lost yet. I mean, they haven't put a shovel in the ground in Las Vegas. Until that happens, there is possibility that this thing never actually gets off the ground, right?
There is one hook to hang your hat on. John Fisher's staggering incompetence. I'm not even kidding, Damon. I'm not trying to bully the guy. It is the truth. The man is an on-paper billionaire, so he's sort of a false billionaire. Then he is also someone who is without any public relations whatsoever. He has been absent along every step of the way of ownership. He has no political will. He has no capital. He has no savvy. He is not polished in any way, shape, or form. He seems to surround himself with people who are, arguably worse at the job of working for John Fisher than John Fisher is at being John Fisher. And it's a clown show. I mean, it truly, a clown show when it comes to finding solutions. They can't. I mean, they proposed a new stadium at Howard Terminal that Oakland actually got very close to greenlighting. And that's when we got to get to Vegas nonsense really began. He, at worst, is galactically incompetent. At best, he's a bad faith negotiator. And either way, you have someone derelict of duty and unfit for office of major league owner. It's a shame. It's totally a shame that they just can't bring in some other a-hole billionaire to own the team. And there are guys who would buy this team and keep them in the Bay Area. And look, I already know it's probably happening in the comments. I'm not looking. There's a lot of reasons to doubt the city of Oakland. There are problems in the city of Oakland that, are mirrored in every big city, but are amplified in Oakland. When you're sitting in a major league ballpark, those problems aren't in the park with you. There was an opportunity, and there is a staggering amount of money in the Bay Area that the right ballpark built for the right crowd could have been the perfect solution for the A's. They didn't need another waterfront ballpark. They didn't need to mirror the Giants in that regard. You will see that they have the biggest parking lot, I think, that even exists in the state of California, a BART station right in front of, where they currently sit and occupy the Coliseum space. And they could have absolutely built a gem of a ballpark right in the opposite parking lot and done very, very well. I mean, done very, very well. So it just, nothing makes sense from a media market standpoint, leaving one of the largest media markets for the smaller media market in Las Vegas. None of it makes sense. It doesn't add up in any spreadsheet or column you can put in front of me. It really doesn't.
Note that the Bay Area works in a lot of the same restrictions building ballpark stadiums as New York does. And there's not any extra land to start building things. And so Citi Field is built next to Shea Stadium, same parking lot. Yankee Stadium built right next to Old Yankee Stadium, same parking lots. You had MetLife Stadium built basically right next to Giant Stadium, same parking lots. This is what happens when you're crunched with space in these massive markets. And they chose not to do so in Oakland for whatever reasons. But I'm so excited to be out there. Friday is going to just be amazing on a lot of levels. And I want you to know that my listeners, my audience, the DA-liens, super enthusiastic about this whole event. Grateful that you're going to help me walk me through this whole event. And Line 51, you did the site check and sent me the video. This brewery looks absolutely amazing. And they got an elevated area. We've got the big screens. We've got the speakers. So this whole thing, we're going to broadcast live on your YouTube page, my YouTube page. But this is going to be absolutely insane. I can't wait for Friday.
We're set up for success. I think we are going to meet a group of people who will remain with you. I mean, these people are going to touch your heart in some way. They really will. There is a level of earnest fan passion that I think only comes out when it's all being ripped away from you. And you are going to meet desperate people who have been, again, screaming into the void about how wronged they have been. Very few people have paid attention. It's awesome that you're paying attention. You are going to be welcomed with open arms, man. You are going to get the very best, the sunny side up of Oakland. I know it. I hope we got beautiful weather, because even though the Coliseum's a dump, you will see the charm in it. You will see the charm in it. I'm the kind of guy who likes Shea Stadium more than Citi Field. That's just me. I don't mind a major league dump. I don't. And that's what the whole last dive bar premise was built on. They could have made this ugly, disgusting ballpark a really fun place to have gone and watch a baseball game. And I'll tell you, I've been in there for some unbelievable playoff games. The Marco, Scutero, oh my God, man, there is so much energy with a great Oakland crowd. Warriors fans know this. Those Oakland crowds aren't quite the same in San Francisco as they used to be. And, Major League Baseball, as far as I'm concerned, can never run another "we represent diversity and we're looking to incorporate more rainbows of the color into everything we." No, if you're leaving Oakland, you don't give a shit about diversity. Don't ever talk out of both sides of your mouth again. This is the most diverse Major League ballpark that you could possibly find. And to leave Oakland is to turn your back on being part of a community that, sure, it has its problems, but instead of being a part of the solution, you're abandoning them. And look, Oakland will have lost by the end of this year 3 professional teams. But they really aren't lost. Like, you're just a few BART stops away for a Warriors game than you would have been. We all know that one of the main reasons the Raiders did move is because the A's squatted on the lease and the rights to the Coliseum, sort of forcing Mark Davis into what turned out to be a very plum situation. I've been to Allegiant Stadium. If you're angry at the Raiders moving, you go to Allegiant Stadium and you'll be like, I get it. It's pretty nice. They got a plum deal there. The A's are leaving without a plum deal, without an escape hatch, and they can talk about how the land is being cleared and prepared for them in Vegas. I don't believe any of it. Like you said, until there's a shovel in the ground, it's all lip service. And we have been watching that play out in real time for a quarter century now with John Fisher. So, Damon, it's going to be awesome to have you out here. My wife is taking the day off that day. She's like, whenever there are Damons in need, she feels like responsible. We're going to have someone to help us out if something goes wrong. My wife does work in tech, so she can plug some shit in if we knock it out. So I think we're going to be in good shape. I really, really do. The last dive bar guys are setting us up. I know that the mayor of Oakland is going to be coming on by. Grant Balfour is going to be joining us at some point in time. And a couple of other ideas are in the works, but I know that those 2 are confirmed. And let me just confirm once again how excited we are to have you out here, man. We're going to have a great day and a really good time at the game.
Can't wait, man. Cannot wait. You're the man. I will see you on Friday, buddy.
Travel safe, man.
All right, Damon Bruce joining us here on the show. You can follow his YouTube channel at Damon Bruce Plus. Watch his stuff there, especially if you're a Bay Area folk, you're a fan, wherever you are in the country. He does amazing work covering the Niners, the Warriors, the Giants, and of course, the A's, etc. And what I'm excited about is sharing this experience with all of the DA-liens from all parts of the country. I'm super excited to be able to get into Oakland and just meet people that reached out to me on all these social media channels and just thanked me over the last couple of years for my rants, which was totally unnecessary, but completely, meant a lot to me. Very endearing and very poignant, because when you do what I do, the greatest thing would be to touch people in a positive way. Of course, opinions are opinions. That's what I'm crafted. I've tried to craft my career to do, is create smart opinions, thoughtful opinions, funny opinions, outrageous opinions. You have to have a little bit of everything in your arsenal, but really you hope that you help people and you hit something that people care about, that you help them along the way. And you say something that touches them in a positive way. And when people have said thank you, and it's so important that you're saying this and what have you, it's just like, wow, man, you don't have to say that, but it means a lot to me. So to meet all those people that I'm going to be out there to meet on Friday is going to be pretty special. If you're going to go to the game, I'm going to sit with the last dive bar guys in the left field bleachers, because the best party's out in the outfield, as we all know. So I'm guessing buy a ticket anywhere and you can come hang out with the whole crew. I don't imagine it's hard to move around, although we should have a pretty good crowd on Friday for this reverse boycott. The tailgate's going to be going on as well. I'm going to tweet out all the details of it. But the deal is starting at noon Pacific, we're going to go to Line 51, the brewery, and then we're going to go at 3:30 into the parking lot. And then we'll tailgate there. Follow me on any of the social media channels. I'll give you the exact coordinates of everything that we're doing so you can join. And then I'm sitting out in the left field bleachers. We're just going to party. And if there's a post-game party that I'm invited to, I'm going to go to the post-game party because my hotel's in Oakland. So let's keep this thing going all night long. I don't have to be back until a red-eye Saturday night. So if you want to just keep rolling this thing over, I'm fine with that. Let's celebrate. Good people, a good cause. And for those that can't be there, Last Dive Bar is giving away some incredible stuff. I'm gonna save a few things, hopefully, to give away to the listeners here next week's show or the week after when we're back at the home studio so that we give our DA-liens that can't be out in the Bay Area a chance to kind of feel and touch some of the cool stuff that we had there. But also, I got really cool swag coming. Special Watch DA Live swag being produced and printed. I don't want to jinx it, but we're going to bring it down there. And if you guys are interested in that swag and wherever you are dotting the map, we can also get those out to you via mail or have you purchase it online for a shipping price only. I won't charge because I just want everybody to have it, but I'll unveil that and hopefully you guys like it. But I'm excited because the party's on, and I'm always down for a good party. All right. And thanks to the Last Dive Bar. Once again, you get 15% off if you use the code Mothership. Go to lastdivebar.com. Be down for the cause. They've got amazing stuff. If you don't even want a T-shirt, they've got great bar glasses for the summer. If you just want like a frosty mug, you want a big pint glass, they got their cool bracelets. They got calendars. I mean, they got everything over there. But specifically for the summer, their frosty mugs, really, really cool. Really cool. So check it out there. Last Dive Bar, 15% off. Just use code Mothership for all you guys out there that support us. And thanks to the Last Dive Bar for being our big-time sponsor here on the show and making this thing happen. This has been really cool. And they've just been awesome putting the whole thing together. And as Damon said, the mayor of Oakland is coming down live to be in person with us. And then also we've got Grant Balfour, former reliever, cult hero for the A's, who's going to join us as well. So it's going to be awesome. It's just going to be so awesome. So I am super excited. I know that it's going to be phenomenal, and I can't wait for it. I really can't. All right. It is time now for a little exhale cocktail, Goldengrams, and Q&DA. So I'm going to pose this to Aidan because I was racing over the last couple of hours back and forth. We had the Bab Mitzvah, my cohort in the mornings on the DA show with the Babchick. His oldest son, Joey Babs, turned 13. So in the Jewish religion, that's a bar mitzvah time. So I was there up until about 6 o'clock Eastern. And then I hit the road because it took me about 45 minutes to get home or so, 50 minutes to get home. Boom, got in, kissed AJ goodnight. He just came out of the bath. And then I came down to the bunker, the DA studios in the basement, and that's where we are. So I haven't even looked at the exhale cocktails, the Goldengrams, what have you. So Aidan, it's up to you. You let me know what we got here.
The best, it's kind of a mix of all of them. Goldengrams, exhale cocktail, Oakland support was one that I found actually on Twitter getting ready for the show today. And it's from an individual named Stevie Janowski, who just thanks for your continued exposure of John Fisher. In the not so distant future, people will look back and ask WTF people/cities/counties were doing, building palaces for billionaires, literally minimum wage workers, tax dollars being funneled. But Stevie Janowski, I'm not sure if you're aware, DA, but I'm sure people in the comments are. This is a baseball legend in his own right. This is Stevie from the popular HBO show Eastbound and Down with Danny McBride. So Stevie himself weighed in on Twitter to support your boycott of the A's and John Fisher. And I just wanted to give Stevie a hat tip. I see you out there, and I'm putting this on the show for you because, Stevie didn't get a lot of credit when he was with Danny McBride on the show. I'm a big Eastbound and Down fan, but Stevie is also calling out John Fisher.
Oh, that's really good to know. Hey, you know what? If Stevie Janowski is down with the cause, then I think that we're doing something right. So good to see Stevie weighing in on the John Fisher. Even he knows the John Fisher is a complete disaster. That is good to know.
That's the equivalent of if there was a Twitter account, Morty D'Souza, that just wanted to come in and say hashtag FJF. Yeah, let's do that. So I just wanted to shout that out as a half Golden Graham, half Oakland supporter.
Nice.
But from the Q&DAs tonight, a couple. Actually, no. Let's start with the Exhale cocktails because we may not. I think the comments of your Exhale cocktails tonight, DA-liens, were even better than any visual representation we got. Okay. Because there was just a train started in the chat. And you know this from seeing the chat. Gigi weighed in. Hope you're having an Exhale cocktail. And it just avalanche from there. Matt, okay. He's having an Exhale protein shake.
Okay.
Yeah, so this is going to get weirder.
Now, this is interesting because I consider the Exhale cocktail to be a moment of unwinding, disconnecting from your phone, just kind of being alone with your thoughts and kind of recentering. I think it's important for all of us. And I like to have a drink with me when I do this. So it's interesting. I don't imagine usually a protein shake would be all that relaxing. That feels like work. But hey, if it works for Matt, God bless.
Yeah, and you're going to love these because it'll get weirder. Kristen checked in and said it's an Exhale white wine kind of
okay, so very nice. Kristen,
basically anything except for a cocktail was being exhaled tonight.
Okay.
And not just exhaled as well, inhaled, according to Craig, who said I'm inhaling some Labatt Blues.
Oh, God. That's one of my favorite beers, a Labatt Blue or a Blue Light. Oh, my goodness. As I've talked about here, if I get a 12-pack, only one of my two grocery stores carries it. So sometimes I'll just go to that grocery store just for the Labatt Blue. But if I have like a 12er, it's an easy slippery slope where it's like, 4 turns into 6, turns into 8.
Exactly. And it just got better with Moist Pork. He's having a Exhale new bottle of whiskey.
Okay.
Hopefully not the whole thing. Moist. And then Cigar City Capo topped off with saying water, pure high quality water for me. It was a long week. That sounds like you after the Babs Mitzvah.
Yeah, I had to hold it together. He had an open bar there. I, of course, was going to be on the air tonight, and I had to drive myself as well because the Bourbon Bell was watching AJ tonight. So I had to keep it together. So I always say, like, if I'm there to have a really good time, then, I'm all in. But if I have to drive, it's a 2 Peroni night. That's it. And in this case, it was a 2 Amstel Light night because they didn't have Peroni. But Babs came up to the bar and said, dude, let's do a shot, brother. And I was like, oh, man, I can't do a shot. I'm on the air tomorrow morning. I'm on the air tonight. I got to drive
Amendolara morning after.
Yeah. And he goes, all right. And then I paused, and I'm just such a sucker. And I was like, all right, let's do it. He's like, yeah. I go, all right, let's do one. So he had a shot of Wild Turkey. I had a shot of Milagro tequila. And that was good. That was all I needed. And I was like, all right, I appreciate that. So luckily I wasn't walking right out the door. I had some time to burn that one off because I was like, ooh, man. But that was my night. And I'm glad to hear everybody had their Exhale cocktail, protein shakes, white wines, and H2Os as well.
That's about right. I got 2 more for you, and I'll get out of the way. Speaking of exhaling, Largent asked, any other weirdos out there? Stay high. I mean, stay high. This is the first in the chat, so I had to throw it on here.
Weirdos, huh? Weirdos. Well, look, we're not one to judge around here. It's been legalized many places across the country, specifically for medicinal purposes almost everywhere across the country. So who are we to judge? So however you like to enjoy this show on a Sunday night, the idea here is to come together as a family, as a unit, have a good time, talk a little sports, smile, tell a few stories, hear a good interview, and then, there's Sunday scaries. Everyone gets nervous about the end of the weekend. Oh, my God, the end of the weekend. We want to provide a space where it's not something you don't want to happen. You look forward to the end of the weekend. So if that includes, doing that kind bud, that's totally fine. Totally fine. We are not here to judge. Enjoy yourself.
And I also wanted to thank Brandon Epstein for his amazing words. I know that resonated with you just as much as it was for me behind the metaphorical glass here. Because when he talked about having anxiety and looking ahead to the future too often, and it kind of ties in with our second guest, Damon Bruce, tonight, of how we can support each other. This is such an amazing community every Sunday evening. And DA, just, your own self has helped me out personally when times where, I remember I asked you to hop on the phone one day and just talk me through things that I was going through in terms of post-college career anxiety, what's going on. And you really changed my perspective on things. So thank you. And I know that everybody in the comments feels the same way. But when Brandon was talking about those things, it just reminded me of what a great conversation we had. Gosh, that was probably more than a year ago now. So you're the man, and I know everybody else feels like you're the man too.
Well, I appreciate you saying that, man. You make it easy because you're an incredible dude. But I think that's why I look forward to this show so much. And that's why this show is going to be around for a really long time, is because this group of people that come together on Sunday nights are just really great people. And why would you not want to spend time with really great people? I get a charge out of it every single weekend that we do this. And if you feel the same way that I do, that this is just a really great group of people and it's great to be part of something, then you should share this with other people and say, hey, come on in. Be, as I like to say, be one with the channel, be one with the show. Because I think it's important for people to feel a part of something positively. Spread the word, family, friends, coworkers, whoever. Just be like, hey, there's this cool Sunday night show that I listen to. This guy DA, they do this thing, XYZ. Listen to it, watch it. It's always archived. They can watch whenever they want. But I just think it's important to give people a place to go that's safe and cool and fun and funny. And I hope that's what this is. And I get such a rush out of doing this show. So I feel like we just have a great group of people to share this with, which I'm very, very, very grateful for.
I am too. I think we're crushing it. And it's all going to come to, at least the Oakland side of things is going to come to a head on Friday. A lot of exciting things coming up.
Yeah, and if Friday goes well, this is the first of many. First of many remote broadcasts where we take this show on the road and we throw the biggest party known to man. If this thing works out well on Friday, I'm going everywhere and going, let's do it here, let's do it there, let's do it there. So you can be confident this is not the last time we are on remote throwing a party. All right. Before we get out of here, I want to do a little sports zen. And I like ending the show with a picture that I came across this week that just made me sit there and think. And so after the Florida Panthers clinched the Eastern Conference last night to end up in their second straight Stanley Cup final and their third overall, I thought about back to the original Florida Panthers teams. Now, they were an expansion team in 93, 94, I believe, right? 30 years of Panthers. And they made the Stanley Cup final in their third season, 96. And that was the year of the rat. And there was a rat found in old Miami Arena that ended up being kind of emblematic of that team, which was a hockey team in South Florida playing in a pink basketball arena in downtown Miami. It was so ridiculous, so outdated. And they found a rat back there. And when the Panthers would score, they would throw rats on the ice, plastic rats on the ice. And this was such a funny, cool type of tradition that was started with a very non-hockey community. And, every time the Panthers get good, they always say, you're the rat in South Florida. So they're back. You hear the rat references. And I just thought, look at this. Look at how cool this is. This is so this is the summer of 96, the Stanley Cup final, Avalanche and Panthers. Just look into the stands and look at the gear in 1996. A lot of oversized white T-shirts. There's a guy with his T-shirt tucked into his belt and what looks to be khakis. The old Panthers jerseys in the crowd. Like, it just look at the boards. It just looks like the mid-90s, doesn't it? And then you have the old Panthers jerseys to the left, which were always ridiculous because it was so 90s, that Panther jumping out the chest of the players. And then the rats on the ice. I just thought this whole thing is really cool. And I mean, it just speaks to kind of a wonderful moment in time in sports, a memorable time in sports, and how right now we're going through a really cool time as well. And look at that official who's ducking down, probably ducking from the rats being thrown on the ice because the Panthers just scored. That series, the Avs swept in 4, but if I'm not mistaken, game 4 was a triple overtime game. And so it was kind of a classic, but there's an old 90s camera guy over there on the right side. I just thought this picture's too good. It's so cool. It's such a sports zen. So just let that sink in. Transport yourself to a different time and place. And that's your moment of sports zen on our way out. Friday is going to be beautiful. I can't wait. If you're wondering about the Sunday show, I'm not sure what we're going to do yet because we'll do the Friday show. It's going to be a big, fantastic affair. I've got Saturday night's red eye to come back. We're going to see how the rest of the weekend goes, connect with Aidan. We might do a Sunday night show. We might not. I kind of got to see, so stay tuned for that. But first up, Friday, Line 51. Last Dive Bar is helping organize this bad boy, and I can't wait. So thanks so much, everybody, for joining us. We'll wrap up here. Get on with your nice Sunday night. We've got a Western Conference Final, Game 6 tonight as well. We'll see if maybe the Oilers clinch their way into the Stanley Cup Final. But thanks to Aidan Hatton, the Marquette Marvel, your executive producer of Watch DA Live. Thanks to all of the hands over the course of this week that make this show happen. And thanks to the DA-liens for coming to us every single Sunday night. Share this with your friends, your family, those that could maybe enjoy the conversation with Brandon Epstein earlier on staying well mentally. Also, the Damon Bruce conversation on what's going on in Oakland was fantastic as well. We will pull the best of, put it on YouTube, put the full episode on YouTube as well. So it's all going to be there. Plus, follow us on social media for all the details of Friday night's event. That'll do it for us. Have a great rest of your Sunday night, everybody. I will see you tomorrow morning on SiriusXM's Channel 82, DA Show with Babchick, starting at 6 a.m. Eastern Time. Be good. Be good to one another. I'm DA, and the mothership is for that.